Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the NET GSET Guidance Lecture Series. Today we have a resource person, Dr. Chirag Adatiya, sir, and sir will deal with the topic research method and material in English. Dr. Chirag Adatiya holds MA, M.Phil, and PhD degree in English. He has qualified GSET as well as NET exams and has successfully published 8 research papers. At the present, he is working as an assistant professor in English at Anand Arts College, Anand. He teaches courses on romantic literature, criticism, professional language skills, and Indian knowledge systems. Apart from that, Dr. Aditya is also a coordinator of language labs wherein I attempt to develop LSRW skills of the students using Wordsworth software. He is also serving as an IQAC member and finishing school coordinator at the same institution. To add his accolades, he received the Best Mentor Awards in 2014 for guiding the students for the events called WWE Wonder Working Engineers to effectively implement the CPD programs. He published a monthly e-newsletters, Literary Boosters, which is designed specially for net set preparation. Now stage to yours, sir.
Good evening to all of you. Am I audible properly?
Yes, sir.
I'm not able to listen to you. Am I audible to all of you?
Uh, yes, sir. We are hearing you.
Yes, okay. So let us begin. Good evening to all of you. So today I'm going to talk about research methods and materials in English. Now see, we have two papers in NET and GSET. In paper number 1, we have research aptitude, but this topic is a part of the paper number 2, which is called research methods and materials in English. So here, whatever we are going to discuss, it is not about research in general, but research, it is all about the literary research, research pertaining to English studies. So let us begin with one activity. I will provide you two small passages, or rather, I will read it. So you observe the two passages and you have to compare them and have to answer the few questions. So let us begin. The next slide. I'm reading. Many people believe that drinking green tea is good for health. It is often said to reduce stress, help in weight loss, and improve digestion. Green tea has been consumed in Asian countries for centuries, and today it is popular all over the world. Now, this is the passage number 1. Now, let us go to the next slide. This is the second passage. I'm reading it. According to a 2020 study published in the Journal of Nutrition, participants who consumed 3 to 4 cups of green tea daily saw the 12% reduction in cholesterol levels compared to those who did not. The researchers used a sample of 500 adults over a period of 6 months, and statistical analysis confirmed the results were significant. So these are the two different passages. It is all about the same topic, but the data is presented in different manner. So let us go to the next slide. I have 3 questions. What is the difference between the two passages? The second question, which one can we call research and why? What are the key features of research that you notice here? So what I would like to receive is, you can write your responses in the chat box, I think. Can we do that?
Hello, sir. First
Yes.
passage is about the benefits of green tea, and second page is about the research.
Okay, fine. That is good. But what are the differences, the key differences? Any other observations? If you want to refer to the passage, we can go to the back slide.
Hello. Sir, first passage was just a general case study where a particular information was mentioned, while in a second passage it shows analytics and some research work was done by any person.
Okay, very good. Anybody else? Any other differences? Do you find any difference in the languages? Language? Okay. So here we see that the passage number 1 is a very general passage, right? We do not have any evidences. For example, if I can see the first paragraph starts with many people believe. Now, who are these many people? So we don't have the particular sample, right? And it does not provide any, what we can say, the particular data. It is just a general observation rather. So this is not acceptable in the research. Whenever we do research, we want particular evidences, right? Whether it is a literary research or a scientific research. So here we can see that the passage number 1, even the language, if you will observe, see, there are some words like, according to study, and there is a citation of the Journal of Nutrition, there is a sample size, particular conclusion. So this is how research is very systematic. It is organized properly. We cannot just give our random ideas, right? So this is the basic difference between what is research and what is not the research, right? The first passage we cannot call a research, but the second passage is it is a kind of a very systematic organization of the ideas. So that is why we can call it a research. Okay. Now, let us discuss more about what is research. Research is more than a study. Now, see, when we read something, there are two types of the techniques, the skimming and reading. For example, when we go to the railway station, we observe the timetable, the different trains arriving and departing. And when we go through some newspapers, let us say some magazines, we do not read it closely. We just go through the random pages, or we just skim through the pages. We do not have the thorough reading. So that is called the skimming technique. But whenever we refer in the research process, whenever we refer to any articles, whether it is a primary book, the secondary book, we have to do the intensive reading. That is the close reading of the text, reading between the lines, right? It is all about the deeper understanding of the text, because many people are reading, right? For example, there are general public who are also reading the literary text, but their purpose is different, while the purpose of the researcher is very different. General public are reading the literary text whether it is a drama, a novel, non-fiction, or poem. They are reading just for the sake of either the entertainment or maybe out of hobby. But when a researcher is reading a textbook, he or she has a specific purpose in his or her mind. So research is not only about the study, but it's something beyond the study. It is more than study, right? So what we can say, it is a systematic study or reading the textbook with a particular purpose in your mind. For example, if you are reading any particular novel and if you want to find out the feministic aspects, so your focus will be on such dialogues which reflect the feministic ideas, right? So reading with a purpose, that is all about research. The another point is to examine or to inspect closely. So it is like, with the same idea that what I have mentioned, that whenever we read the text, it is not just a superficial reading or just a kind of the storytelling, but we have to understand not only the thematic ideas, but the stylistic aspect of the text. Like, for example, you have to understand the text properly, you have to go through the life of the writer. Even you have to have the historical knowledge of the particular period, or maybe you must have the knowledge about the different literary devices and the literary techniques. That is all about examine the textbook very closely. The third point is research is all about the systematic investigation. As we have already said in the example, we cannot randomly say, because research is not, see, it is not all about your personal opinion. Research is not a subjective, but rather it is objective. So whatever you say, it should not be only your personal opinion, but rather you should also take into consideration the views given by the different critics, or rather I can say the established critics. The next point is research is a fresh approach to a subject. Now, you cannot just repeat what others have already said. But as a researcher, it is your duty to contribute something new, something fresh ideas in your own discipline or your domain. The next point is revision of accepted laws or theories. Either you will, for example, your previous researchers have already said something, but you do not agree with them. So maybe you will do some revision in the theories which are already proposed by them, or maybe you will come up with the new theories. So this is what is research is all about. Let us go to the next slide. Can we change the slide, please? So see, up till now, whatever we have discussed, previous slide, previous one. So up till now, whatever we have discussed, it is all about research in general. Now let us see what is meant by literary research. Because research differs from subject to subject. For example, in natural sciences, subjects like botany, zoology, chemistry, physics, mathematics, research is carried out differently. In social sciences like history, psychology, again the tools and the materials are different. In literary research, we again have a different tools and different materials. That is why it is very much important to understand what is literary research. Now, in natural sciences, what is the object of the study? What do they study? For example, they will study some natural phenomena which is occurring outside, right? through some experiments in the laboratories. They will have some tools, some chemicals, etc. If we talk about the social sciences like history, psychology, sociology, what do? They will observe the man and his behavior. That is the tools, or rather the objects for them. But what is literary research? Literature is the product of the creative writer. So that is why the literary research is all about study of writer and the study of the text. Both we have to do together. It is not, for example, if we only study writer, then we cannot carry out our research. Or even we cannot just study the text in isolation without the knowledge of the writer. So literary research is all about studying the writer and the text both the together. Right? This is the definition of literary research. Now let us go further. To make it more clear, here on the left hand side you can see how, for example, let us take the same voter, research about the voter. If it is a scientific research, what will they do? They will study the different properties of the voter. They will find out the formula of the voter, pH value of the water, different chemicals, whether the water is drinkable or not, right? But in literature, for example, here I have taken one very famous quote from the rhyme of the ancient mariner by Asst Coleridge. Water, water everywhere, and all the boats did shrink. Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. So here in literature, whenever we, for example, we are carrying out a research work on water, so we have to interpret it from water as a symbol, water as a metaphorical device, right? So it is not just about what we can say the natural phenomena, but it is all about what we can say the beauty of language, right? The hidden meaning and the different context. Because here, whatever the Asst Coleridge is talking about, it is with his experiences, right? There are the elements of supernaturalism, for example, in this poem. So without having the knowledge of the culture, even the society, and the different symbols, we cannot understand literature and we cannot carry out literary research. So this is very clear here, the difference between scientific research, research in social science, and literary research. Let us go to the next slide. Now see, again, this is the one more example. For example, if there is a research work on what is love, what the people of psychology will say. Love is an emotion of attachment, intimacy, and commitment. So they are talking about the emotional aspect because the emotion is connected with mind. Now, sociological perspective, love is a social bond that holds families and communities together. So sociology talks about the family and how the people live together, the bonding. Now, the biological perspective, love is chemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. So they are talking about the different chemicals that we have in our body. But from literature perspective, Robert Burns, what does he say about love? Love is like a red, red rose. So here we can observe the difference. If we see the research of the social science, they will use the facts, data, and observations. While literary research explores the meanings, symbols, cultural context, and the different interpretations. right? Because here, why Robert Burn is even repeating the word red rose. So why the word red is repeated twice? It is a particular literary device that we have to understand. So here in literature, we do not have our tools or objects for study is not the facts and the data, but rather it is the what we can say the signifiers and the signified. If I say in terms of structuralism and post-structuralism. So this is the basic difference between research in the social science and literary research. Let us go further. Now see, here whatever I am discussing, this is the book I have, Research Methods in English by M.P. Sinha. This is the reference book I have used for preparing this presentation. So according to M.P. Sinha, there are the 4 kinds of research in literature. The first one is bibliography and textual criticism. Now what is this? Let us understand. For example, when we study a particular text, let us say William Shakespeare's plays. So there are the different editions are available. And all the editions are not the authentic ones, published by the different publishers, right? For example, Bad Quarto and Good Folio. So some information might be missing, or sometimes we have the different editions are available. First edition, second edition, right? So as a researcher, it is our duty to distinguish between, which is the authentic book. So that is the kind of research. You have to identify, for example, if you will refer to the old edition, you might miss the latest information. In case of Shakespeare, folio is considered as the authentic one compared to quarto edition, right? The second one is biographical research. In biographical research, we have to understand author's mind and art, because we cannot disconnect literary work from the writer. It is all about his own observations during his different phases of life. Because whatever the literature comes out, it is produced out of the vast experiences of the life. And that is why it is very, very important to go through the biography of the writer before you refer to the literary works. And whenever you refer to the literary works, even though in your research, let us say, for example, if you have selected only one novel written by Charles Dickens, but if you want to understand Charles Dickens as a writer, you also have to refer all the works written by Charles Dickens. Otherwise, you will never be able to understand the overall the writing skills of that particular writer. So that is called the biographical kind of research. The next one is theoretical research. Here, as a researcher, either you propound a new theory or you have to modify the existing theory. Right? For example, feminism. So in feminism, we have the different waves, like first wave of feminism, second, third, and the fourth wave also. But now again, in the recent time, the feminism is again interpreted differently, right? So you will have your own observations about that particular theory, or maybe you can just modify the existing theory. That is called the theoretical research. The next one is interpretive research. It is all about applying the principles of a particular theory. So it is about the interpretation of the literary text using a particular theory, let us say post-colonial reading of a text, or let us say, for example, whatever theory you can take, feminism, structuralism, post-structuralism, LGBTQ, and so many theories we have nowadays. Cultural materialism, or let us say digital humanities, disability studies, right? So it is about the interpreting the text using the particular framework or a particular theory. So we have total, according to MP Sinha, these are the 4 kinds of research. Now, what is the objectives of literary research? The next slide. The first one is advancement of knowledge. Obvious, that is how, that is why we do research. And it is the duty of the researcher to refer the existing works. Otherwise, you will never be able to justify your research work. Whatever topic you are working on, first of all, you have to review, and that is why we have literature review in our thesis, right? So it is about going from known to the unknown. So whatever is familiar to you, whatever the previous researchers have done, you have to study all those data, and then you can give your own opinion. Otherwise, what will happen? That whatever the observations you will come up with, it will be the repetition of what others have already said. The second objective is broadening the mind and sharpening the critical insight. Because whenever you do literary research, you try to understand culture, you try to understand human psyche and life itself. Because literary research is all about understanding yourself and understanding others. Because literature is all about life. You cannot disconnect literature with life. So by doing literary research, it will obviously sharpen your mind and you will be able to develop your critical insight. The third point is genuine and intelligent interest in literature. So doing research is not only for earning the degree or getting the name and fame, right? But this is nowadays we can see that how the researchers are doing the research work. They are just in a hurry to complete their work, because nowadays in our, particularly in India, research is connected with getting a job. That is why we are not doing the research genuinely. But the main objective of research is understanding and appreciating literature. The next one is sense of belongingness to a collaborative community. Because research is not a journey in the isolation. It is not possible to carry out your research without the support of so many people. For example, if you will refer to your primary sources, which are written by a particular writer, and you will refer to so many secondary sources, you will take the interviews of so many people, you will discuss with your seniors, your colleagues, right? So it is a collaborative community, and nowadays in the this technical era, and this we have this the world has become very small. So you can, even though if you are doing research work on some international writer, let us say, you can meet him personally and you can also take his interview. So literary research, the objective is, belongingness means to be a part of the community. So these are the different objectives. Okay, let us go to the next one. Now, as a researcher, when you register yourself as a researcher, there are some expectations. That there must be some qualities in the researcher. The first one is dedication to learning. Because researchers should always be very curious. He must have the desire to know the different perspectives. He should have the good, the skill of the observation and understanding the text from the different perspectives. And for all these things, dedication is required. Without dedication, you will never be able to pursue your research work. We can say with the full we can say you will not be able to justify your work. The second one is skepticism. It means that you have to be very objective in giving your argument. I would like to give a reference from this book which I was reading by M.P. Sinha. See, whatever you read, never consider it as an authentic one. You have to observe it from the different perspectives, and you have to apply your own mind. For example, Shakespeare belonged to a very middle class family, and he was very serious in his learning and writing. But Ben Jonson was very jealous of him, and that is why he commented about William Shakespeare that little he knew about Latin. And I forgot that entire quotation, but this is the comment given by Ben Jonson, right? But now here we cannot take this comment of Ben Jonson seriously, because Ben Jonson gave this comment out of jealousy. That is why skepticism is very important. As a researcher, it is your duty to verify the data. The next one is command of language, because literature is all about language. Language is the medium of expression. That is why whenever you want to whenever you want to do a research in literature, it is the first and foremost requirement that you are able to understand literary language, not the communicative language. Because in literary language, there are the different devices, there are different, we can say different meters and rhymes and so many different techniques, literary techniques are that. So that is why it is expected from the researcher that he must have a good command over language. This is the background knowledge. Let us go to the next one. Now that is the title of our topic: materials and tools of research. As we have discussed earlier, that in the natural sciences, the materials and tools are the natural phenomena, while the materials of literary research are manuscript and the printed books. But as we have again discussed earlier, there are so many editions are available, there are so many manuscripts are available. So as a researcher, it is your duty to verify it and consider the authentic and the latest edition. And which are the tools of research? One is the bibliography. Now see, there is one kind of a Cambridge bibliography which is published every year. So whenever you do your research, for example, if you are working on, let us say, Jane Austen, so if you want to know all the books available on Jane Austen, what you can do is you can refer to that national bibliography, right? And there is one which is published every year by Cambridge University. And these are the different types of bibliography which I am not discussing here. The next one. The next slide, please. So we are discussing tools of research. So the first tool is bibliography. The second one is note system. And there are the two types of the notes: lecture notes and the text notes. Because see, during our research journey, we will refer so many texts, hundreds of texts. And at the end, whenever you want to prepare your bibliography, at that time you will not remember that from whether I have borrowed these ideas, or maybe the title of the book, the publisher, the publication year, you will forget it. That is why as a student of literature or as a researcher, This note taking is very important. And here, this is the format. See, a call number. That is the book number. You know, whenever you borrow the book from the library, on the front page, that call number will be there. So that you can note it down. So whenever, for example, if you want to borrow the same book next time, this can be helpful to you. Then you can note down the author, the title of the book, even the library, from which library you have borrowed that particular book. And you can write some of the observations while reading, while reading the book, whatever you have observed. So you can sum up that ideas in 5 to 6 lines. So this is how in this format you can prepare the notes. Now this is the tool of research. Okay, let us go to the next slide. The next one is scientific tools. In scientific tools, we have microscopes for examining the handwriting, tape recorder, television, etc. Because we do not have the different chemicals and machines like there are in the scientific research. The another one is the textual analysis. So whenever you interpret the literary text, you have to keep in mind what I. Richard said, the 4 kinds of the meaning: sense, feeling, tone, and intention. So it is not only the superficial reading, but the close reading of the text. You have to understand the sense of the text, the feeling of the writer, the tone of the text, and the intention behind writing. And the next one is understanding of literary forms and devices. As a researcher, you must have the idea of the different literary forms and different devices, different movements, isms, etc. And that is called textual analysis. Then only you will be able to do the textual analysis. Otherwise, you will never be able to justify. So these are the different tools and materials. Okay, now we will talk about methods. How much time do we have?
So now you have 10 to 15 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, fine. So before understanding the methods of research, it is important to distinguish between method and methodology, because most of the researchers get confused between these two. So what is method? Method is the actual tool, technique, or the procedure you use to analyze the text. For example, how you do it at a practical level. For example, in literature, close reading of a poem, comparative study of the 2 novels, right? This is called the method. And now let us see what is methodology. The next slide. Methodology is the theory of method or philosophy behind that particular method. It is like, the framework, the overall framework. For example, the feminist theory to study Jane Eyre, the post-colonial approach to examine Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. This is called methodology. So there is a difference between method and methodology. Now we will discuss different research methods in literature. The next one, the next slide. The first one is biography, or rather we can say biographical method. In this kind of the research, we have to study a literary work in light of author's life. So here text is not into the focus, but writer's life is important. It is assumed that writer's personal experiences, background, and personality shape their creative output. So here the focus is on we do not only have to study writer, but his experiences, the people he's connected with, his relationship with the different people, his marriage life, his education, his career, etc. And looks for connections between his life and his writing. because sometimes we have the biographical works. For example, we have Charles Dickens. So most of the novels written by Charles Dickens are biographical. For example, we have William Wordsworth. So his novel, The Prelude, is a biographical poem. So without understanding the life of the writer, you will never be able to justify the research work. So it is called biographical research or biographical method of research. The next one, the next slide, it is history of ideas and technique. Here it studies how ideas, themes, and techniques develop over time in literature. For example, during the Romantic period, all the literature is very subjective. They gave very much importance to the individual opinion, and they discarded the society. While in Victorian literature, society is important, your personal opinion is not important, right? So there is the changing of the ideas over time. So you have to, as a researcher in this kind of the method, we have to study the, how the ideas are changed throughout the different periods. Its focus is on intellectual history from philosophical point of view, politics, religion, culture, and the reflection in literary works. For example, if we are discussing Romantic literature, then we cannot avoid French Revolution. Without having the knowledge of French Revolution, you will never be able to understand Romantic literature. And it explores the evolution of literary styles and techniques like narrative styles, symbolism, imagery, different dramatic techniques, etc. This is called history of ideas and technique, right? This is the method of research given by M.P. Sinha. The next one, no, we are talking about the same one, but the different slide. For example, as we are talking about ideas, the history of the ideas, right? So, for example, if you are talking about love, concept of romantic love, then you have to start from Plato, Plato's views on romantic love, then Shakespeare, William Wordsworth, and the modern writers. This is called the continuity of ideas or the history of ideas. And even you have to understand literary devices and forms. For example, evolution of sonnet, stream of consciousness, and blank verse. So in the previous era, the writers use the different techniques, and the modern writers are using the different techniques. So the literary technique keeps on changing with the time. So in this kind of the research, your method will be observing these ideas and the technique. Okay, we are keeping the next slide. What are the strengths of this method? This method shows how literature participates in the growth of human thought. It reveals the interconnectedness of literature, philosophy, history, and culture. Because literary research is not only about examining the literary work, but at the same time taken into consider philosophy, history, culture, etc. And it helps to understand the progression of literary techniques. Okay, the third one, bibliography and textual criticism. It focuses on studying the text itself, its origin, versions, and authenticity. This bibliography we have already discussed earlier. Textual criticism, focusing on examining the text critically to determine the most accurate or the original version. And the key features include, you have to compare the different editions or the manuscript to identify the errors or the changes. And you have to consider the reliable text for the interpretation or analysis. And for example, let us say studying manuscripts from Milton's Paradise Lost to understand editorial changes, or preparing critical editions of Indian or British poetry with footnotes explaining variants. So there will be different footnotes even, when you will read the text. So even you have to consider all these footnotes, and then you will have to interpret the text. It is called textual criticism. And the next and the last one is critical approaches and theories. It focuses on analyzing literature through established theoretical framework. It is like called, the application of the theory, analyzing the text using a particular framework. It emphasizes interpretation rather than the description. So it helps to explain the themes and techniques using the particular critical lens. For example, if we have, this is the example I always give to my students at UG level, whatever the googles we have. For example, if you have red, then you will be able to see the red world. Yellow, then yellow, right? So for example, if you will study the particular text from feminist point of view, then your interpretation will be different. The same text can be studied from post-colonial view, or maybe the point of view of the structuralism, post-structuralism. So you can apply the different theories in the single text, right? Okay, now I am skipping all these things, but I would like to discuss some abbreviations. Can you just go through, can you skip the few slides? Use full abbreviations. Okay, I will take 5 minutes more because these are very important. So whenever you are preparing your thesis, literary thesis, these are some abbreviations. IBID, IBID. It means in the same place. What is the use of this term? It refers to the some source cited immediately before. Let us see this example. M.P. Sinha, that is the name of the writer. The title of the book is Research Methods in English. And you have taken one quotation from page number 45. Now, if you want to take the quotation from the same book, you don't have to write all the details again, like M.P. Sinha, Research Methods in English. What you have to do? Write IBID, page number 47. What does it mean? That it means, IBID means you are citing from the same book which you cited earlier. I hope it is clear. The next one, opposite. It means in the work cited. It refers to a source cited earlier, not immediately before. For example, you have cited something from M.P. Sinha's book, page number 32. Then again, you are citing something from T.S. Eliot's book. And again, if you want to cite M.P. Sinha, then you have to use opposite instead of IBID, right? Because you are not citing immediately, but you have cited M.P. Sinha, then you cited T.S. Eliot, and again, if you are citing M.P. Sinha, then you have to use opposite and the page number. Okay, the next one, locit, LOCCIT. In the place cited, it refers to the exact same page of the source already cited. For example, M.P. Sinha, page number 45. And again, if you want to cite from the same page, you can say locit. But if the page number is different, then you have to write IBID. Right? For example, M.P. Sinha, book number 45. And if you are taking some quotation from page number 47, then you have to use the abbreviation IBID. But if you want to cite something from the same page, then you can use the abbreviation locit. These are some of the very useful abbreviations, even from the examination point of view. There can be some MCQs related to this. Now, I am not discussing what is hypothesis and all. But there are some questions. Can you skip the few slides? Yes, 2 questions only. In the realm of literary research, a hypothesis functions as. I would like to get answers from all of you. And this question has been asked in GSET 2024. A definitive assertion about the meaning of a text. Is hypothesis definitive? Yes or no? Or it is just a temporary one? Hypothesis is always, it is just an assumption. So the A answer is wrong. The second one is a synthesis of existing interpretations without innovation. This is again, we cannot call a hypothesis a factual claim based on primary evidence, right? In literature, it can never be a factual claim. And the last one, a provisional statement subject to critical scrutiny and analysis. This is the correct answer, right? Because hypothesis is all about a provisional statement, a temporary statement, or temporary observation, and still you need to verify them throughout your research journey. So it is subject to critical scrutiny, right? So D is the correct answer. One more question. A blueprint of research work is called research design, research tool, research question, or research problem. Would you like to answer? What is called blueprint of a research?
Sir, maybe answer A.
Yes, that is the correct answer. Research design, it means your overall design, the chapterization, or maybe the format, for example, introduction, then main body, literature review, main body, etc. So overall research design is called a blueprint of a research. So these kind of the questions are asked in this, in this part of the paper, in the paper number 2, the methods and materials of research in English studies. So we don't have much time, but at last, I will just here. These are the list of the important books. If you want to prepare about this topic for NET and GSET, or even if you want to pursue PhD, these are the very, very important books. A Grammar of Literary Research by D.S. Misra, Research Methods in English by M.P. Sinha, which was used by me to prepare this particular presentation. The Art of Literary Research by Richard L. Tick, An Introduction to Research, The Rudiments of Literary Research by Siris Chindade and Ashok Thorat. And the last one is Thesis Writing, a Manual for Researchers by Abdul Rahim. I have all these books with me. So if anybody wants at any time, I would be able to provide you the photocopy, or maybe I don't have the soft copy actually, but I can be helpful to you. So that is all from my side. Thank you. Any questions? The session is open for the discussion.
Yes, sir. Now we have a feedback session.
Hope I was able to justify the topic, though we didn't have much time. but I tried to cover up basically the methods and materials in English research. Any observations?
No, sir.
Okay, then you
No,
can
sir,
conclude.
Just a second. Now we have feedback session.
First
Okay.
of all, thank you so much, sir, for conducting such an insightful session. So now we have feedback from Seja Chokia. So I call upon Seja Chokia to share his feedback.
Hello everyone, greetings to all. First of all, sir, it was a truly insightful and meaningful session for all the learners. In today's session, you discussed analogy, demonstration, and firstly, the way you define research. What is research? It was truly good. Comparison of research in different areas, then kinds of research, and then objective of research, background knowledge, and then material and tools of research method and methodology, and then methods of research, and in the last, useful observation and literary thesis. That was truly good, sir. This is very first time when I'm listening or learning some